Hi, can you hear me? I have a 15-second delay. I'm gonna wait for a couple more people to join. I'm in a third-party stream, so I really can't see who's joining or who's asking questions until about 15 seconds later. So when I look, hey Glenn, I see you. So as I said before, I'm not gonna see it. Whoever talks to me, I'm not gonna see it for another 15 seconds, but I'm excited to see what's happening, and it's working. So I'll give you a couple more minutes. So Dana, Glenn, Roosevelt, hi, how are you doing? Good to see you guys. I'm gonna give people a couple more minutes to join and I'll get right into it. Really a couple more seconds. All right, well, we'll start. What a day. So thanks for joining me. My name is Dr. Maya Byfield, and we're going to really get into the concept of how to prepare your child from the womb to preschool. Right. So let's think about it. How did you like that, right? You guys like this? How did we get here? How did we get here? Well, say there's a bird and then there's a bee and there's a fly. I'm just playing. I want you to focus on what happens around day 14 of a woman's cycle. You see that right here? Every single hormone that she has, from FSH to LH to estrogen to progesterone. You don't even have to know what those hormones mean. Just know that they're all high right here. They're high here as well, but only really two is high here. All of them are high on day 14. That is the day that she lets her egg out. So I always tell people, especially teenage boys, young adult men, if she's coming on to you, there's a difference between you coming on to her and somehow you convince her. But if a woman is coming on to you, most likely every single hormone in her body is peaked. And you know what's happening? An egg is coming. So if you don't want to have any children, my advice would be careful when a woman somehow is just being aggressive. Not to blame women for getting pregnant. I'm just saying, know yourself, know your woman's cycle. It's so important. There are some exceptions to this rule, but know your cycle. Because 3 days before, even 3 days before this happens, there's a chance that your little friends will go and wait on that egg right there and just sit and wait for it to happen, or they meet on the same day. So it's very important. That's how she got pregnant. But so you're pregnant now, and I want you to know what's going on in your body when you are pregnant. Now, I'm not an OBGYN. I am not an OBGYN. So I'm not telling you everything about your pregnancy or your future pregnancy. But I want you to understand your child's brain. Your child's brain is the first organ to be created. Within 4 weeks, the nervous system is developing. 4 weeks of your pregnancy, just 1 month. And so you have to be preparing that child, that future child, for a life of excellence from the womb. You learn from the womb. So the first step is understanding the difference between us and animals. The difference pretty much is this big cerebrum right here. There's a huge cerebrum right here. That's one part of our brain. Animals don't have the size cerebrum that we have. That's what really makes us different. And so what's happening in the womb is that part of the brain is growing like crazy. We call it neurogenesis and neuroplasticity. It's growing like crazy. So what you need to do is make sure that that those brain cells will grow. That's it. Get those brain cells to grow. How do you get those brain cells to grow? You want the baby to stay as long as it can in the womb. Let them grow inside of the womb. Anytime that you have a baby pre-32 weeks, you may have developmental issues. 25%, I love this 25% though. You know, I've seen preemies make it. I've seen them grow strong and healthy children, but some also have developmental issues when they come out of the womb too early. So try your best. Those of you who can wait, you need to wait. You're like, oh, I want to have a C-section early. I'm tired of holding this baby in. No. Hold it in as long as it can. I was 2 weeks late, just to let you know. 2 weeks late, and I'm telling you, those 2 weeks were great. I think, I don't know. But it's hold the baby in as long as possible, unless the doctor says, you know, we have to take the baby out now or else it will die. You know, life is more important than perfect growth of brain cells. So you have to eat properly. The proper nutrients and minerals need to be happening heavily at this time to make sure that those brain cells are growing. That's the key thing. Consider playing music, and it has to be distinctive music, not just noise. So there's research out there that said they compared playing noisy, just noise, plain noise, crashing, just noise, versus classical music to a rat's womb. And the babies that came out of that rat, when they had more neurons, those are your nerve cells, than in rats that didn't have music. So just to let you know about the brain, there's like this gray area right here. That's where all the cell bodies of the neurons are. And then the white part is where they connect to each other. So the cell bodies of the neuron are in this gray part, and then the axons that signal and talk to one another is right here. But what's happening is the gray part is growing like crazy. And so the way you keep the gray part growing like crazy is eating right, staying long, no drama. So this is for the baby daddy and the father and the husband. You want to make sure that you keep your wife or woman at peace at all times, because any stress will hinder that baby's growth. All right, so we move on. Preschool to the 4 years old. Here's that cerebrum I told you. That's the major part of the child's brain. And just to let you understand, when it's red, that means it's not developed yet. Okay, so red and yellow, very undeveloped. As you see in a 4-year-old's brain, it's very undeveloped, except in certain areas where it starts to be developed. And that's right here. That's blue like that right here. And right here. Right here is the vision centers. So that baby is seeing really, really well. And right here is touch senses. That baby can feel and feel very well. So you need to activate that part by giving vivid pictures to them. So that's why they love colorful animations. They love to touch and feel a lot. because that part of their brain is working very well. But for the most part, it's red and yellow, so it's not very developed. So this concept of, IQs for 2-year-old, 3-year-olds, it's too early to really understand whether they are very intelligent or not intelligent. Next, you have right here is developing a lot. This is the left side of the brain. And the left side of the brain is important for language and analytical skills. So did you know that the language development of a child is pretty much the same side as the analytical and mathematical ability of the child? So and right now, that part of the brain's language is developing very, very well. All right, so no baby talk. No baby talk. No goo goo gaga. No. You develop their primary language from 2 to 4 years old very well. Okay, between 0 and 2, the brain cells are just growing. That's what I said before. So keep that baby from the womb growing their brain cells. But when they're between 2 and 4, and even pre-2, their language centers are growing a lot on the same side where the mathematical centers are. So you need to speak properly. They hear you. Have you ever heard a baby cuss? They pronounce the C's and the K's very well. They use their tongue. Their brain communicates with their tongue very well. And so when you speak to them, you want to speak to them using syllables. You want to have a good cadence when you're speaking to them. So what we're learning about language, which I'll get into a little bit next time as well. You want the difference between slang and language is the amount of letters you put in your verbiage. You're actually speaking, right? And you're pronouncing every single letter properly versus ain't, right? Ain't, you're not doing isn't. And so every word that you say, every letter that you say, you're stimulating your brain, your child's brain, to grow. And so the more they speak properly, the more their brain will grow. So we need to cancel the baby talk. We need to speak properly with the proper cadence and syllables, not because we're bougie, but we want our children's brains to develop well on the left side, the same side that is analytical. But I'm not saying you don't want the creative brain to be developing as well, but if you maximize the time that you can develop your baby's brain on the same side that does all the analysis for STEM, they will be prepared. All right, so please do that. And lastly, I'm gonna only do about 20 minutes, so I kind of want to overburden you guys. So look at this brain right here. This is the brain of a 3-year-old who was healthy, who in a healthy household, and they weren't neglected. They were fed well, they were loved well by parents. And this is the brain of a child, a 3-year-old child who was neglected. You see the size, right? So it's a really, really small brain, really small brain, and this is a really big brain. You see the gray part right here I was saying? Lots of gray matter, meaning lots of cells versus very little cells. So when I'm serious, we need to make sure that our kids' brain cells are growing rapidly between the ages of 0 and 4. How do we do that? We do that through eating properly when they're in our womb. No stress in our womb, right? Music, playing not just noise, but specific types of music will activate neurogenesis. And when they come out the womb, we want to develop their language. How do we do that? We speak properly to them, but we also read to them. Read to them from the womb. Speak to them from the womb. Read to them, read to them, read to them. Read to them, read with them. You can teach a child to read at 3 years old. You can. You can. Their language development is at their best at this time, between now and really 8 to 10 years old. Okay, so reading, I put riff. Reading is fundamental. Reading is fundamental. So to my point, it's simple for the womb. Number one, get those brain cells growing. Get them growing at all costs. Number two, when they come out, develop their language very well by speaking to them properly and by reading to them. No science. I didn't say anything about science yet. I need you to develop the left side of their brain. All right? So I'll see if you guys have any questions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come over. I said before, I'm on a 15-second delay. So I'll wait. Okay, thank you, Pierre. You like my different explanation between slang and actual language? Yes, I'm telling you. Slang is just you're using your tongue lazily, and by using your tongue lazily, you're basically not using your brain well. But when you really pronounce every single letter, you're especially at that age where the baby's brain cells are growing a lot, yeah, you need to pronounce those letters properly, and once you do that to them, they will do that for you. Yeah. Any other questions? No questions? Come on, I see all these people joining. Good to see you guys. I feel like I'm in romper room. All right. Well, I guess that's it. I will see. Okay, Glenn. Glenn says, Maya, I appreciate this. It is so accurate. This is what we did with our children, and then they're now exceptional. Both were reading on the 2nd grade level, going into kindergarten. Absolutely. If I want to shout this, I want all you guys to share this. Like, I feel like shouting it to the mountaintops. Your kids can read from the age of 3. Absolutely. And the way you do that is you start to read to them pre-3. You speak to them really well, so you can get that left side of the brain working. And when the left side of the brain is working really well, the same side that is developing language is the mathematical side. It's the analytical side. So when it's time to do science, it's not time to do science now. It's time to read now. I want to get, people ask me all the time, what should I do to my 4-year-old for science? Nothing. No STEM. Read like crazy. And let them listen. If they do watch colorful animations and videos, I see a lot of parents with, technology with their little kids. It should not be silent. They shouldn't be swiping stuff and then there's no sound to it. They need to hear the sounds and the specific words. Technology without sound at that age is not good. Okay. That's right. Pierre says by 4 years old, the library every 2 weeks, heavy on picture books. Absolutely. Heavy on picture books. Yep. And if they can't read to them. And when you're reading to them, read slowly and clearly with those syllables to get them to hear the syllables properly. Any other questions for me? I told you before I'm on a 15-second delay. because I'm coming from a third party. Oops. Sorry. Because I'm coming from a third party broadcast. I'll look ahead to see if there were any questions. If not, we'll close off for the day. Thanks you all for joining. Dana, Cassandra, Brother E. Banks, how are you doing, sir? Stella, Linton. Hey, Marvin, how are you? And Miss Charles. Wow, Danique, good to see you. Pierre asked, what about pushing to count beyond 100? At 2 and 3, I mean, fine, but focus more on the words than the numbers. Yeah. So instead of, 0 to 100 is good. That's fine. Make sure they're pronouncing the 0, all the letters of the 0 to 100. Yeah, they can do that. But I would rather focus on their language. I would rather focus on their language than their math skills. Yeah. Well, thanks for being here. I appreciate you coming and listening. I shared if you feel that this was good. I want to shout out my church. If you feel like supporting some kind of charity of mine, go to online giving for Patmos Chapel and donate to the education department, the local education department. Really appreciate that if you could. So PATMOSCHAPEL.org. Online giving. Thank you for the loves and the likes. I'm glad you really enjoyed it. And for those of you who want to have kids, remember what I said. Actually, I've heard that you have to prepare like 2 years in advance. You not have to, but start preparing your body early. Okay, I think I got everything that I said I wanted to say. And I'll see you guys on the next time. I'm going to be out of town next Sunday. So I might go live for just questions, no presentation, just questions and answers for those of you who missed this one. All right. Thanks again, everybody. I hope you really enjoyed it.